With me now is Georgetown law professor Rosa Brooks. She's the organizer of the Transition Integrity Project, which brought together a bipartisan group of experts over the summer to wargame potential scenarios around the election. For example, what if President Trump lost and refused to concede? Rosa, so good to have you. So you predicted what we are seeing right now in one of the war game scenarios. What happens next?
Well, war games are not predictions. They're efforts to examine possible worst case scenarios and try. And the reason you do that is so you can try to prevent them, actually. In all of our scenarios, when we looked at four, we looked at a big Trump win, a big Biden win, a narrow Biden win, and a period of extended uncertainty. And in every single one of those, the players playing Donald Trump refused to concede. So I don't think it's ever been on the cards, no matter what happened, that Trump himself would concede. What we did see, this scenario most closely resembles our big Biden win scenario. And what we did see unfold in that exercise is precisely what we're seeing now. We're seeing denials, foot dragging, tantrums, refusal to cooperate with the transition, purges of people who've made him mad or hurt his feelings over the last months or years, trying to essentially figure out a way to get out with as much loot and as little legal jeopardy as possible. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. I also think, though, that as the other commentators have noted already, the Trump effort to undermine the election is ultimately almost certainly doomed. You know, that Biden's lead is just too big. You can have recount after recount. They don't typically change the vote outcome by more than a few hundred. Biden's lead is too big in too many states. The litigation the Trump campaign keeps filing and in state after state is getting tossed out of court after court because it's meritless.
I'm sorry for my choice of words. Prediction was a poor choice of words. I didn't intend that when you gamed out the scenario. I mentioned this a moment ago with the last group of journalists talking about the John Podesta and Andy Card op-ed about why transitions are a vulnerable time and why they need to be done smoothly. Let me just read a little bit more from this. When the 9/11 Commission finished its report, it found that the delayed transition hampered the new administration in identifying, recruiting, clearing, and obtaining Senate confirmation of key appointees in the national security arena. The commission also concluded that avoiding future disruptions in transitions was deeply in the national interest. So in my conversation with a senior official today, they were pointing to exactly the same thing, talking about the time it takes to get somebody a security clearance, knowing what is needed in each individual agency, what sort of personnel is needed in each individual agency. And though Joe Biden is saying it's not a big deal for now, don't worry about it, they are very concerned about national security.
Yeah, well, I think there's bad news and there's good news. I mean, the bad news is the only people being hurt by the Trump administration's refusal to cooperate with the Biden transition are the American people. I mean, as you said, the purpose of the transition rules are to ensure continuity of government, to ensure that there's no period of time when it's not clear what's going on, that you don't have a new administration being unable to hit the ground running. And so what Trump is doing, he's doing this despite Joe Biden, but it's stupid. It's just destructive to the nation. That being said, I'm not that concerned. I mean, I think this is theater.
Interesting.
I know many of the people who are on the Trump agency transition teams. For defense, for instance, we have people like Kathleen Hicks, who's leading that team. And that team is made up, for one thing, of many people who already hold security clearances. So there's not going to be a delay in their case because of the nature of the work they've been doing outside of government. Number two, it's made up of people who've had extensive time working inside the Defense Department. This is just defense we're talking about here. You could say the same, really, agency by agency. These are people who have great contacts with the career folks who work in those departments. So even though, yes, can the failure of the General Services Administration and Donald Trump to cooperate, can that mess them up a little bit and slow them down a little bit and annoy them? Sure, it can. But I don't actually think it is going to prevent them from getting the information they need, because these are pros. These are experts. They're already tremendously knowledgeable. So I think Trump's reckless and spiteful effort to do something that does create all kinds of national security risks. Luckily, I think we've got fantastic people we're seeing on the list that the Biden administration just released, and I think they're going to be able to do their work anyway.
I'm so happy you laid all of that out. That was going to be my next question. I'm running up against a wall here, but just very quickly, do you have a deadline, a drop-dead day for when the GSA does need to certify this election and really start handing over all of the tools in the toolbox to the Biden team?
We have, I mean, it would be nice for it to be tomorrow, right? It would be nice for it to be yesterday. We have various dates coming up, such as the date in December when states have to, count their electoral votes and so forth. It gets harder and harder, I think, for Team Trump to say, oh, but there's still uncertainty. January 6th is the date that we have a joint session of Congress that essentially says, okay, here's what the votes are. Here's who the next president is. So we've got a whole bunch of dates, each of which makes it progressively more difficult to pretend that this election is still up in the air. There's no single date. Sooner is better. Sooner is better. As I said, a week ago is better. But that being said, we've got transition teams, thank goodness, from the president-elect who are all they're not sitting there spinning their wheels. Trust me. I mean, I have contacts and friends who know some of these folks. I know some of these folks. They're already working, and the Trump team can try to slow it down for no good reason, but they're busy already, and they're going to do their darndest to make sure that his reckless actions do not jeopardize the fate of the nation.
Rosa Brooks, it is really great to have you today, and thank you for laying this all out and adding some clarity. Not only that, but a little bit of assurance to our viewers today. We appreciate it, and hope you come back soon.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.